Hello and welcome everyone to the Dead Red Herring podcast. Today we are going to talk about friendship because friendship is magic.
And magic is heresy!
So yeah, fuck that shit.
Nope. Yep. Yeah, fuck all that noise.
Yep. Nope. We're not gonna talk. God damn it. Friendship. Magic.
Bah.
Those things belong in games. And funny enough, we're gonna talk about games. Again, we're gonna talk about our games.
The hell kind of segue was that?
I don't know. You know how I am with segues. It's like weird segues and beating dead horses. That's me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Don't judge me.
I just got images on you on a Segway with like a baseball bat or
Oh, that kind of segue.
after a horse and just...
Imagine the Roman circus.
Yeah.
But me on a Segway driving after horses.
That would be a spectacle.
That would be a spectacle.
I'm not gonna lie, actually.
Okay.
So
No.
yeah, we...
The reason that we're gonna talk about our games again is because I actually did
a survey.
sort of a survey. I put out a open question on Twitter about what people would want to know more about our games.
Would you like to know more?
Yes, sort of like that.
Yeah.
And one thing that I actually got was, at least for my game, is that how do I separate between the ages? Because last time we talked about this, I said that it was sort of a blend of different punk styles with the basis in steampunk.
Yeah.
And I actually said that there were going to be these different ages. Actually, it's more like, I call it Weird Century because in the long time span, it's more or less a century long. So 100 years. And in my thoughts about this are that you have the different ages. Like imagine the for example, you have the 1800s.
Yeah.
And within the 1800s, you have these really different sort of ages within the age.
Yeah, I mean...
within the century. Like you have the flintlock era, you had the percussion rifle era, you have, and then moving on to have the enhetspatron in Swedish. It's the bullets like we have them today with the mini
bolters, what?
The bolts, no, the bullets.
Yeah.
Like looking at how guns evolved.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
you look at how industry evolved, how society, clothing, everything. Really, you had such a much evolution during just a period of 100 years that might have taken a whole slot of centuries before.
Yeah, I mean, the early 19th century contra late 19th century, it was pretty darn diverse.
Yeah, really. So that is actually the basing of my idea that you have the early part of the century where you have... I'm actually basing it in how the airship models actually work.
Yeah.
So the early century, the early part, it's more or less you have ships with balloons.
Let's strap a balloon to that bastard.
Exactly. It's like, I have my ship here. What if I put a balloon on it? Now it's an airship. Ta-da! And you have certain things that go with this. So it's like, quote in quotations now, low-tech era.
Mm.
And then the second part, or second era within, is going to be where air travel has evolved into you actually building ships that are specifically made for air travel. So it's like you might still see the ship with a balloon strapped on it, but then you can have ships that have the carrier, the lifting part integrated into the build from the start into the design.
Yeah, okay.
So you might see, imagine a blimp.
Yeah, okay. It's
within the design of it all.
Yeah.
So now within the game, it's not going to be like you have blimps, or you could have, I guess,
I
but
suppose
it's more
in
like
later.
No,
century.
actually, because of the lifting capacity of whatever it is.
Yep.
If it uses gas or so. Because of the rules within the game, you don't really need that large of an amount as you would need in real life, because fuck physics, I guess. It's not fun.
You can do a lot with trinitum, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. You have the magical mineral, magical in quotation marks.
Contrivium. No, wait, sorry. I'm sorry.
that makes it makes you able to have these fantastic inventions. So you will see ships that have the carrying or lifting mechanism integrated into the design. It might still be quite visible, that it might still be a balloon, but it's integrated so that it's not just, as I've said so many times already, it's balloon strapped on ship.
That's the pleb kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Airship.
So, and during the second era, I'll just call it the second era, you'll have also society moving into a more integrated part, or integrating this mineral with all its fantastical possibilities, making life easier, so to say, that you'll have more and more inventions running with or because of this thing.
It's that missing link of sort of modern civilization.
So it's like this mid step between just finding something and having it fully integrated. So and that makes me at this point we have to move into the third era of the century, and that is when it's fully integrated, that society is based upon the possibilities of the mineral trinitum. And you'll have all like vehicles of all kinds running on engines that are using trinitum or trinitum enhanced things. You'll have more, at this point you will actually have the more advanced form of the steampunk, I would say.
Yeah.
But it'll also be sort of a blend between steampunk and diesel punk. And the main idea I have for this is actually to make it look like sort of the early 1900s into the World War I era.
Yeah, I like that 1920 plus or
exactly. It's a sort of 1920 plus or 1910 plus even.
Great
like,
War era, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. So World War I era, the way society sort of looks, you have this more modern feel to things. You have what we today might say the more advanced sort of technology for its time. But it's not really that. It's gone into, it's still the analog sort of things.
Yep.
There's nothing digital, so it's still cogs, it's still springs and such. There's nothing digital.
It's Polhelm's wet dream, so to speak.
Exactly. And if you don't know about it, there was this Swedish inventor called Christopher Polhem.
Yep.
Christopher
Polhelm.
Christopher Polhem.
Yep.
Fantastic man. He actually had a thing for cogs and machinery.
Yeah, he made the so-called mechanical alphabet, I believe it's called. What's it called that?
I'm not really sure, because here's the thing. I can't really remember being taught about him in school.
Me neither. I had to pick that up later.
And that's really a big shame, because he was actually one of the bigger inventors of Swedish history. And he did a whole lot of things that made industry possible at his time. He really made advances within his time and made Sweden sort of a mechanical utopia, sort of. Nah, I'm being really extreme here, but still, his inventions made huge leaps in industry.
Yeah, exactly. He, let's see if I can find here what he did.
And he lived. He was born in 1661. He died in 1751. So, I mean, he lived and worked during the early age of the Industrial Revolution.
So to speak, not badly pissed.
Inte illa pinkat.
Inte illa pinkat.
It doesn't really translate.
I do like, what is it called? Anglicize or Anglo?
Yeah.
It's something like that. Words, but yeah, I like doing that sometimes. Anyways. So yeah, a very analog society. See what I did there?
Okay, I'm just going to name an example of what he actually made.
Yep.
If you've heard of something called the flat rod system, that is his design.
That's right.
It was an invention for the mining industry that enabled the mechanical movement generated by a water wheel to be transferred over short distances.
That is cool.
Yeah, it was invented in the 16th century, and by the 18th century was being used to transport power up to 4 kilometers. Now that is one hell of a range.
That is a big range. Cool. Cool. Take note of that, I would say.
Yeah, sorry, I got lost in reading about this.
Yeah.
There's actually a really good GIF on Wikipedia, the Swedish version, that actually shows how the basic mechanics of the thing works.
Yeah. And I suppose he was, with his design and his mechanical alphabet, I believe it's called, was able to make such inventions as the locomotive piston.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, when you look at it, his design is really simple, but holy shit, it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
You actually can have elevators using his design.
Cool.
Just look at this shit. Yeah. You guys really need to go look at this GIF. It's awesome.
Yeah. Maybe we should link that later, but
yeah, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to find my way back to the game.
A very analog society.
Yeah, a very analog society. But with the advanced and imaginary powers of steam and cogs and mechanical works and stuff like that. I mean, imagination is your friend here.
Yeah.
And by the end of the Weird Century, you will have this more World War I sort of civilization, which should also reflect in the conflicts, and it should be the end of the empires. Because another main part of my game is the empires. Because the 1800s were the age of the great empires. And also, during the age of Victoria, at least the later age of Victoria, that was also the beginning of the decline of the great empires. The age of empires came to an end in 1918 with the end of the First World War, because the whole reason that we had a world war from the beginning was because of empires flexing their muscles.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Germany. And you and your goddamn Kaiser.
I thought it was because of a bloke called Archduke shot an ostrich because he was hungry.
I see what you did there. Well, actually, the whole basis for the First World War was that the Emperor of Austro-Hungary wanted to conquer, what was it, Bosnia?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Serbia, I think. Serbia or Bosnia. Balkan.
Yeah, it was somewhere on the Balkan. It actually, a lot of people want to make it that the killing of Archduke Ferdinand was the trigger for the war. It was not. It only
ignited the fuse. That
would, exactly. It was only what ignited what would later lead to the Great War.
Yeah.
Because, believe it or not, the Grand Duke, he was actually one of the people that stopped the Emperor of Austro-Hungary to start a war in the first place. So with him gone, there was no one pulling back anymore, which led to plans put in motion that would lead to the conflict starting, and by that you had a sort of a dominoes effect going, that you had the grand alliances between the empires that led some allies having to put their good side forward and actually honor their agreements, which in turn led to an arms race, and the arms race led to conflict. So,
all right, chums, time's up. Let's do this.
Exactly. So that is sort of also the feel I want to get into my game.
I mean, that is perfectly because history is just ripe for the taking there in inspiration. So
exactly, and the reason I actually want to have this thing is that I feel there isn't enough made taking inspiration from the Great War and the era of early 1900s.
Yeah, it's sort of a forgotten era. It has risen up a little bit.
Recently, there's come a lot of things. And sure, in the early age of gaming, you had a lot of, for example, flight sims. You had the Red Baron, which is an awesome game. If you haven't played it, you should truly try it. But today, just looking at history taught, you don't really get much about the Great War. You get a whole lot about the Second World War.
That's true.
Because I can understand that it's more relevant in terms of reflecting the world we live in right now.
But damn not Nazis!
Exactly. But you wouldn't really have that thing if it hadn't been for all the things that came with the Great War. And actually, I'm leaning more towards saying that there weren't two world wars. It was just one with a sort of quiet period.
Yeah.
An intermission, if you will.
A heck of a long ceasefire, I would say.
Sort of.
I would say ceasefire because... Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, the thing is that if it hadn't been for the treaty, what was it called?
Versailles?
When they met in the train wagon?
I think that was Versailles. I'm just gonna check this because I don't want to give out misinformation here.
Exactly. We need to know our history.
Yep. 1919. Treaty of Versailles.
It was a Treaty of Versailles.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that if it hadn't been for the winning side wanting to whip Germany the way they did.
Yeah, the real asshatness.
Yeah, it was really... Because at least France wanted to really humiliate the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
So they put on these really ridiculous...
spectacles.
It was really whipping Germany. And that made the German economy go rock bottom.
Yeah.
It made Germany as a country crash.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, you had a whole lot of mostly veterans being dismayed, not fitting into society, and by such forming their own groups. That is what, in the end, made Hitler being able to rise to power. So, I mean, they went from being an empire into being a republic. And problem is that all of the decisions made their the society went down. The economy crashed. You have heard all of these stories of people coming with wheelbarrows full of money just to buy eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cursing what was worth nothing. So, I mean, living in these conditions, who wouldn't be dismayed? Who wouldn't be desperate for, anything?
Yeah.
You wanted to have work. You wanted to be able to support yourself. You support your family. And if you were a veteran, of course you would talk and hang out with other veterans.
Of course.
Because they knew what you went through. I mean, it was a horrible...
validation. in your society.
Yeah, I mean, just being part of what happened in World War One.
Mm-hmm.
All the horrors you had to see and survive, if you actually were lucky enough to survive. I mean, PTSD, what's that?
Nah. Battle fatigue.
Exactly. Actually, it's shell shock.
In the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. World War One, it's shell shock. World War Two, it's battle fatigue. Come Vietnam, it actually turned into post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
So now you know that.
Exactly. And I mean, we can see that after the Vietnam War with the splinters of veterans coming back and forming their own little groups.
Yeah, where did Hell's Angels come from? Veterans coming back from Vietnam.
Yeah.
Because they were outcasts.
Yeah.
They couldn't get back into society. Society didn't accept them. What did they do? They formed their own.
Of course.
And today we have shit because of it. So, god damn it, treat your veterans right.
This has been your history lesson and PSA from the Dead Red Herring podcast.
Exactly.
How did we get into this?
Yeah, suddenly we're into social commentary.
Ah, shit!
God damn it. Yeah, but my point is that I want to make it put up a setting, a world where you can have sort of the conflicts of a World War One era.
Yeah.
And that is the last piece
part,
to my setting. How I at least set up the timeline. So, and the idea is that with all the different eras within the century, there should be different focuses, of course.
Yeah.
Like having an age of exploration, having an age of industry, and making it able for you that want to play it to have your own idea to build upon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to go for a more of a Weird West sort of game, you should be able to do that.
I like that sound. Weird West.
Yeah. If you want to make a more imagined Victorian London sort of Sherlock Holmes kind of game, you should be able to do that. If you want to have a Pinkerton adventure, you can do that.
Cool.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to have a inspiration from maybe the American Civil War, you should be able to do that. It's just imagine the 1800s and early 1900s as basis for the world, and you'll get sort of an idea of what you can play with.
Yeah, exactly. A little forgotten era for you.
Yeah, and then with the twist of having the punk elements.
Yeah.
So that is the long answer to how I keep the different eras apart.
Oh, you fucking finally.
Yeah. It only took about, 20 minutes.
Thorough answer.
Yes.
That we like.
Now that I've been talking a whole lot, do you want to have anything to say about either comment on what I've said, or do you want to talk about your game?
I have sitting here thinking about the eras of my game, and like you, I try to take inspiration from history because that I want to make a more of my own universe, but I also want to make it a sort of alternate universe from our world. So I have events in history or times in history that mimics our own history. For example, the ancient Greek eras and the medieval Age of Chivalry era, and also the Great War era, and all that. I try to make my little own version of that in my game, and that is why my map of the world sort of mimics the real world. I was going to say shamefully much, but
it's like our world, but with a twist.
Exactly, it's like our world, but
your version of
my version, exactly. So that too, that I try to sort of cover the entire history of the beginning, and I am I'm not gonna try to one up you here, but I'm trying to do like.
Sure, just one up me.
Oh, you start like the beginning of the 19th century. I started the beginning of time. No wait, no, but really, the whole events of people with abilities and all that starts at the event which we kind of borrowed in the name of the fall of Babylon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually had a long discussion about that.
Exactly. If we're gonna make sort of a split timeline and all that.
Yeah.
But we sort of came to the conclusion we should make one timeline and just focus on that, because I'm thinking of with this fall of Babylon, which was kind of in this version.
In your world.
In my world. A couple of centuries before, like, year 0. I if we're gonna take the Gregorian calendar.
the biblical.
Yeah, exactly. Before that guy with the abilities, you know who I mean.
You know what the fuck I'm talking about?
Christ! Christ! So yeah, basically, there was this big tower in this place called Babylon that, yes, it
was
fell.
It called the Tower of Babylon, maybe?
No, fuck you. Tower of Samaria, fuck you. No, but yeah, it was basically a big tower or spire, really. But it was huge. But when that, for some mysterious reason, collapsed, it sort of
was God.
It was the wrath of the gods. But it sort of frizzled up the space weave, allowing not only magic to leak through, so people could use that, but magic, but also awaken the so-called freak gene.
You're a freak gene.
You're a freak gene. Fuck you. But basically, people started to get born with abilities, and still, people have no idea what the fuck that came from. They suspect it's something in their gene, but they haven't been able to pinpoint it. They just know people are born with it.
Genes? What's that?
Fuck you. It's pants, son. No, but so basically that, and then you have this. In our world and in my world, we have legends of people with with so-called demigods and monsters and all that.
Mythology,
exactly. Where did that come from? Well, in my world, there were people with abilities.
So it's in your world, it's actually based on true events.
Exactly. But since it has gone so, it has become that this far back in time, people sort of forgot about it, and like they say in Lord of the Rings, stories became myth became legend, the legend became obscure, so to speak.
Whatever the true version of
I might be botching that. You may send hate mail for me later.
Yes. Now remember, send it to Magnus.
Exactly.
I had nothing to do with this.
But you gotta find me first. But anyways,
they can find you.
Oh fuck! They know my IP address. Yeah. So basically, it is based on on true events, but then made into mythology, to stories, legends, mythology, and god tales. So they might have been somewhere up in the north, some guy with a hammer, able to summon lightning.
So you're telling me that when Odin said that he was going to kill all the giants,
there might or might not have been giants.
There might or might not have been a genocide.
I'm saying as a Turkish here, no, there was no genocide.
You mean the Ottoman?
Yeah, Ottoman.
Armenia, what's that? No, I don't know.
Never heard of it. Move on. So yeah, there might have been a genocide or a hunt for some feral IDBs coming through.
You say IDBs, and what do you mean by IDBs?
It's a sexual transmittable disease. No, sorry. I couldn't resist. No. The term IDB stands for interdimensional being, which is sort of, in this sort of universe, this alternate dimension, there are multiverses. Not
In your world, there are multiverses.
exactly.
Yes.
Blah. We need to go deeper. But I'm not thinking like multiverses. Like for instance, it's like our world, but this cup never existed. Not like that,
Mhm.
because then we're gonna be here all evening.
Aren't we always?
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, then you're gonna have to write out every single goddamn universe in that sense. But sort of, it exists some alternate dimensions, which nasties can nasties can come through with interlope in this universe.
I have no idea what the fuck that was supposed to mean.
Basically,
You got interloopers.
yes. Basically, monsters, beings, stuff, nasties from other dimensions come through, make their their own little legends or markings in history. So, for people, regular people might call them IDBs or interdimensional beings because that's what they are. Religious people might call them demons. Yeah, you name it. It's basically
Some call it their mother-in-law.
exactly. Some of them may not be their mother-in-law.
Dash!
Don't let your mother-in-law hear that.
What? No. I like my mother-in-law. She's nice. I'm not scared of her.
Standing right behind you.
I'm scared.
But when I say regular people call them IDBs, of course I mean whoops. I think I covered those in the
Yeah, I think you
last.
did.
The World Hazards and Occult Organizations Paranormal Strike Force.
Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
After a while, it sort of does, actually. You're just gonna have to say it a lot. But then you have other departments for people with abilities like BECA, which basically Bureau of Enhanced Citizen Affairs.
Fascists.
Fuck. Nah, not really. But the government. But I am
Fascist!
Fuck over a trash can, quickly! But now I'm going into deeper lore here, so stop me if I'm rambling.
No, go on. This is interesting.
So yeah, basically, people with abilities in this world are, I'm not gonna say registered, but they are. But sometimes if they are, I'm not gonna say misbehaving or something like, then they might end up in a register. So basically, you have two kind of organization in the government, two government departments really. One was Whoops, which is more of the for the magicians and IDBs and all that, because, well, as the name states, it's World Hazards and Occult Organizations Paranormal Strike Force. So that sort of covers their department. But then when you have a person or persons with the sort of freak genes, or they have acquired the ability from other ways, the BECA steps in and checks on that, because it's more of well, their department, Bureau of Enhanced Citizens. So yeah, so you have those two government organs.
It's like a liver and a kidney.
Yeah. Or two appendixes. You don't know what they're doing there. You don't know what they're doing there, but they're doing something.
There's a theory that they're doing something. I think we should go with the appendix.
Yeah. Two appendixes.
And sometimes they get what's it inflammerad.
I was gonna say inflated, but that's not right.
You're inflated. You're like a balloon strapped to a ship.
Infected or
yeah.
Let's just say that, and they have to be removed.
Problem is, they don't.
No, they are actually useful in this one, because they need. Because the regular government have no idea what the fuck. There is a guy breathing fire over there. What the fuck are we gonna do about that? Arrest him. I'd rather not.
Huh. According to Google, inflammerad is inflamed. I'm just... I just get the image of someone with an inflamed appendix. It's like, you smell that burning? Oh my!
Basically goes up in flames. Well, that's fun.
Hot. Yeah, actually, this is what I think is really fun about your game. It's basically a superhero game, but you have all of these possibilities of just having a real either noir kind of game or this thriller kind of undercover agent game and stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly, and that is why I'm trying to go with by stretching it out in such a long time span and with such diverse places in the world. I'm getting to those later. You have the possibility of doing the hell you want.
I actually want to do a World War II game, but with enhanced people.
Yeah, I have an idea for the event of the Great War, because
in the Great War,
exactly. But this is the fun part. We talked about basically the Great War and World War II being a big war with a little bit of ceasefire. This one has no ceasefire.
Oh shit!
So basically, it is the war to end all wars, but with enhanced people, magicians. It is a shit show.
Oh my god.
It is a shit show.
Holy crap. So, I mean, that means the war will be going... If we take, like, the time counting as...
in really between era, it counts as war, so yeah.
So there's still open conflict during that time?
Yes.
Huh.
So we
have from 1914 to 1945.
Yeah.
That is one hell of a war.
Basically 40 years. 30 years. What's math?
Math is the applications of...
Never heard of it. So yeah, then you have this little bit of technological advancement throughout the war, because what's better to improve technology if not war? There's a fun in lifting thought for you. So, because, like I said, the enormous time span, you can... I mean, if you wanted to go all comic book style, and you are a group of 4 heroes, and then there's a time vortex, and then you're back in in medieval Europe, basically. Ha! Imagine that. And because, well, oh, here comes, like, Merlin the magician. Well, fuck, he was a magician. Oh, god. Oh, god. So you have those possibilities. And I'm trying to do that, but not, like, being all over the place, but make it possible to cover as much ground as possible. I haven't really thought about doing anything futuresque. Not more than what we already have, because, well, if you're gonna have a world with, like, superheroes or enhanced people, you're gonna need a little bit more advanced than we are today.
Yeah, I think that'll be sort of... How to say... It'll just come with the game, I guess. That...
Yeah.
I mean, if you have people that are super smart, that invent really superior things, and unlocking really advanced technology, I guess that'll be sort of reflecting into society as well.
To take inspiration from those, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you will have sort of a contemporary world, but with sort of at certain things will be more advanced.
Exactly.
Maybe.
It is the possibility of the more advanced than we are today. For example, we have personal computers and all that.
Yeah.
Are kind of more advanced.
Yeah, I think if we just to compare with maybe Marvel,
Mhm.
But you could compare it with DC as
How
well.
dare you?
I
would
know.
never.
But I mean, if we look at it like this, you have characters like Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And his inventions. I mean, the whole Avengers team. You have the different things there.
Mhm.
Just looking at Vision and Ultron,
Exactly.
the advanced AI. You have the robots and stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, Jarvis is really a great example of the advanced AI that
Mhm.
might appear in a setting like this.
Yeah, exactly. And that is also a fun thing to play with in this.
Yeah, and of course that will. I'm starting to just making my own things up here, but
Go on, I might take inspiration.
yeah, but I mean, in a world like this, you will have to have some sort of safeguards. You have your different organizations within the state,
Of course.
which it will be a natural evolution within it all. That
Yeah.
you'll have organs within the state that will control and supervise these elements.
Of course.
So I mean, I guess there will be some sort of breaks somewhere that'll keep the civilian population under sort of control.
Mhm.
And because I mean, imagine in our world if a super AI would be available.
Oh shit.
Yeah, who would be in control of that AI? I don't think regular people would be. I think that the state would take control of it and would have, I don't know, 1984 in a handbasket just coming along. Imagine the EU having this super AI.
Som vi har väntat.
Or the American state, or China, or Russia. I mean, it would certainly be one of the bigger superstates that would take control of a technology like this.
Of course.
But at the same time, if you have enhanced people, supers, and stuff like this,
Mhm.
of course there will be sort of renegade groups and or what's it called, independent groups
Yeah.
that might act as sort of gatekeepers for it,
Mhm.
making sure that even the state wouldn't get too powerful. So
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be like, how should I put it? The world will always be on this fragile piece of ice, or on a really, really well balanced scale that at some point might or might not tip over to either side of pure chaos or total totalitarianism.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I would like to compare it as there are gonna show up something. I think it was Vision said this in Civil War, that our very existence encourages conflict or something,
Mm-hmm.
or invites conflict. And I'm thinking, like you said there, with independent groups, like we have the super state organs trying to control. And yes, you have the independent organs try to
Mm-hmm.
balance that out, like you
Yeah.
said. But of course, I would definitely say that, and even in not just groups but people as well, you have sort of the goody two shoes people, and of course that's gonna invite conflict with someone else. I mean, there are some messed up people out there right now. Give them superpowers.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. And I mean, I really like this because it opens up to so much interesting play
Mm-hmm.
that you can have a game based on your characters being part of a sort of independent group.
Mm-hmm.
The thought of X-Men likeness crossed my mind, but that wasn't really what I was going for. It was more like, imagine a group that has the idea to put having a check on that the government doesn't get too powerful, that the government doesn't use supers or freaks or whatever
Yeah.
to gain more control. And at that point, you will have open or direct conflict with those that wish to make such a thing true.
Yeah.
whether or not those people are part of a open government system or a part of a shadow government or whatever.
Mm.
So I mean, it'll open up for the conflict needed to have a game going.
Exactly.
Now, in the end, it's always going to be up to the dungeon master to decide how the world's going to be. But you lay the real basis of how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the interpretations might be really different, but depending on who is going to make an adventure or make a scenario. But just that they have the means to do whatever they like. That is what I like the most about it.
Yeah, precisely. I really want to give that freedom to people
Mhm.
just to, I'm not gonna say go bananas, but if you want to go bananas, here's the tools for
Exactly. I either go full totalitarian state and 1984 and have your characters either enforce it or try to defeat it.
it. Yeah.
Or you can have the open good state and your characters might be insurgents trying to ruin it, and or you do the classical comic book style trying to defend the open and free world.
Yeah, exactly. Damn Viper.
And Viper is your sort of version of what?
Well, imagine like I was gonna say, imagine Cobra or Hydra
Yeah.
or
The
the
evil organization that tries to take over the world.
exactly, of course.
Of course.
But yeah, basically, and there you have this sort of this sort of answer to a government, sort of government control. And I'm not saying this like they're not actually bad guys. No, they're a bad guy. They're a terrorist organization. They should be treated like that. Shame on them. But it is an answer.
They hurt people.
They hurt people. So yeah, basically they are this giant global terrorist organization which hasn't been pinpointed yet to get arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have this
Arrested or destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
Pit vipers. God damn it.
So yeah, that is sort of an answer to a totalitarian government control. Then it's another totalitarian regime answering to that. Fuck it, but
There might be the shadow government.
Ah, exactly. Goddamn reptilians, eh?
No. Let's not invoke the Alex Jones into that.
Serious crap.
No. Oh, Alex Jones,
Yeah.
the most memeable man alive.
Oh yes. I mean, speaking of interdimensional monster demons and all that.
And turning the certain amphibians to a certain sexual preference.
Turn the freaking geckos by? No, wait. I might be getting that
Your
wrong.
granny tranny.
Granny Tran, exactly.
Your mom lesbian. No, your mom gay.
Your mom gay, dad lesbian.
Your granny tranny.
Oh, now we're real spiraling out of control.
As we usually do.
Yeah, I suppose.
But that's fun.
Oh, yes. But yeah, like we said, we want to give this possibility with our worlds to enlighten these eras in your own way, enlighten these gameplays in your own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I just want to make a good foundation for people that want to have the means to do an adventure within a steampunk setting to do that.
Yeah.
Steampunk or semi-diesel punk or Weird West. It's just because these are genres that I really enjoy myself. And just building a world that makes these kinds of games possible, that is what I really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I have a lot of work to do still, but
So
I mean, the basics are there. I just need to fill it up with fluff.
Yeah. And that's where the players come in,
Yeah, well,
in this case.
I mean, I enjoy doing play tests and having things happening there being either put into canon history directly or being inspired by the events and putting them into the
Yeah.
canon. So, I mean, it's sort of at this moment a collaboration between me and those participating in playing to keep building the world.
Yeah, see it like an alpha test, really.
Yeah, sort of. But I think also that's the kind of beauty of it all, that this sort of game can keep evolving
Mhm.
with every game.
Yeah.
And I mean, every game can act as an inspiration or as a building block for the
Yeah.
bigger picture.
Of course, of course.
So, sure, in the end, I'll guess I'll just have to pick and choose what'll fit best.
Mm-hmm.
But it would really be fun to have people play it, and then that I could see the story, just how it runs along, and maybe take that and put it into the fluff.
Mhm.
That would be really fun. So,
Yeah, exactly. I kind of like that approach also with the players, because for the moment I have how can you say, I have a limited amount of inspiration sometimes, and sometimes just up to the, well, not up to the players, but with great help from players to evolve that to what you already have. Because after a session, you might just sit there, hey, that was not, hey, that's not bad actually. With the
hey, that's pretty good.
pretty good. For instance, like if you sort of came up with another group or something mid-session and all, and like, hey, that might actually fit there. I should use that, or a location, or another character, or whatever. So yeah, that is the beauty of this early building playtest
Mm-hmm.
and all that.
Yeah.
So much to say, so much.
Exactly.
And I haven't even gotten into the vampires yet.
Yeah. Well, your version of vampires are kind of interesting.
That they are.
Yeah.
I try not to make them all like creatures of night, but
they are creatures of
they
night.
are. But their backstory is kind of fun. Here is a little tidbit of backstory of these vampires. The vampires are nothing more than a sort of contagion, or really a parasite from a dark, cold, remote dimension that came through and sort of put itself on a human and sort of metamorphed him into what we would call a vampire.
And that is the basis of the mythological vampire in your world.
Exactly. And I was going to say that reality mimics history here, or legend mimics history, but also history mimics legend. So they might have just taken from each other. But it is nothing more really than a parasite that procreates by biting and infecting other people.
Goddamn parasites!
Yep!
So
And
you're
when
telling me that a vampire hunter is nothing more than a sort of glorified exterminator?
Aren't they always?
Point. And I do like it.
Yep.
Now, where's my flamer?
The heavy flamer. Blah.
Yeah.
And a fun thing here, actually, it's every infected, or every person that gets infected is sort of, I was going to say quote unquote inbred. Because when you have someone from a pure parasite to human, they become the most powerful being between those creatures, in this case, parasite and human. When that human infects another human, it becomes a weaker version of that.
So, wait. Okay. So you have the parasite
Yep.
that jumps onto a human.
Yep.
Turns that human into a quote-unquote vampire.
Yeah.
And then that vampire goes and infects another human.
Yep.
And that human becomes a lesser version of the first.
Exactly. And I have a ranking system for this. And okay, when I
Is
say
it sort of like generations?
sort of
That with every generation they get weaker and weaker.
exactly, or
And the only way to get stronger is to suck the life and blood out of a stronger, earlier generation.
that, or I am actually gonna be contriving and say they can choose that, but they can never create someone more powerful than themselves. So I have this ranking.
So you're telling me that you have basically Vampire the Masquerade going on here.
Oh shit! Abort! Shit. Well, sort of. I am. It is kind of, but
Yeah, but still, I
it
mean,
is the
disregarding Vampire the Sucky.
sucky. Yeah,
Sucky. I'm gonna be open with. I hate Vampire the Masquerade because I fucking hate that system. It's so goddamn broken. Sure, it might work in a tabletop environment, but not really.
Yeah.
So I mean, fuck that shit.
In my defense, I had no idea I was copying that. So,
Yeah. Well, it's hard to be truly original,
of course.
but I do like the idea of the parasite being the strongest when it's, well, the direct infection.
Yeah.
But does that mean that the parasite takes over the body, or is it just that it sort of spreads its, how to say, having a parasite means that it resides within someone.
Yeah, exactly.
So does that mean that the parasite leaves its offspring, making another parasite, or is it that the infection just, for some reason, turns a human into some abnormal thing?
Well, yeah, it basically is that it turns into this abnormal thing. Imagine like this ant becomes infected with a spore. That
Yeah,
wants to
the
climb.
zombie fungus thing.
Exactly, it wants to climb and then it just sprouts out and
Yeah.
basically metamorphoses, basically, or sprouts out, whatever. But it basically is that when it is in this parasitic form,
Yeah. It's pure form.
yeah, exactly, in its pure form, it's very limited to that form. But when it melts, I'm gonna say meld.
Okay,
because-
so there is a sort of metamorphosis between the parasite and the host.
Exactly.
So they become one.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it leaves its imprint. I was gonna say, but but they become one,
Mhm.
and the parasite changes its body, becoming very sensitive to sunlight or UV light and all
Yeah.
that. But it needs this it has this hunger. It needs to feed, on this case, blood. To alive. To
Iron deficiency.
exactly, or something
Or a
like that.
craving for hemoglobin.
Exactly. Noms. but basically, it needs this blood to be alive.
Yeah.
And, well, separating host from vampire parasite, let's just say it's not very pleasant for anyone involved. And
Really, it sounds to me like whenever a human has gone through a metamorphosis with the parasite, it to me it sounds like they become one and become a new sort of creature.
yeah,
And-
but it has this instinct left from the parasite.
Yeah, because to me it sounds like it's kind of hard to reverse.
It is very hard to reverse. It's
I would actually think that it would be
this
impossible.
This parasite is basically rewriting your DNA to
Yeah.
create.
So how
this-
do you actually reverse that?
Well, fire, lots of it. No, but no, but imagine like if the brightest scientists came up with a sort of vaccine or whatever, or just started to well, basically you will use magic. Like I said,
magic I can actually accept because
Yes.
that is breaking reality.
exactly. But like I said, it's very hard,
Yeah.
basically impossible.
Because to me it sounds like and that would be sort of the thing with the vampire, that once you've been turned, once you have gone through the metamorphosis, there is no going back.
Mm.
I would even say that doing it through magical means might be, well, sort of cheating, but
But once again, you're gonna have to rewrite all that
Yeah.
DNA that changed and remove
it's
the parasite.
sort of like you have to just take that person and go back in time, more or less.
Mhm.
But I mean, magic is magic, and you do whatever you do.
Yeah.
But just looking at the vampire, I think it's much more engaging that once a person has been infected by the parasite and the parasite has melded and they've gone through the metamorphosis, there is no turning back for them. Whoever has become a vampire is a vampire indefinitely.
Cunt's fucked.
Yeah.
Basically. It's fucked, basically.
And there's only one cure, and that cure is fire.
Fire, sunlight, stake to the heart, whatever.
How does that work, actually? Stake to the heart.
I have actually thought about that, because this parasite's sort of quote-unquote brain, because it has, in its true parasitic form, it's basically a mass of black sort of tendril thingies. Imagine like a nervous system, basically.
Okay.
And when it gets in, and it craves blood, remember?
Yeah.
Because it's
Oh,
very
so it goes to the heart?
Exactly. It sits in the heart like a cyst or a tumor, really. And just sucks, and gets more nutrients when it
And
sucks.
then just goes,
It spreads through like the blood.
Yeah, blood veins, and goes through the body, and then there's the metamorphosis going through, and
Exactly.
suddenly...
Because what's the quickest way to get around in the body?
Blood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically, when you have a stake to go through the heart, because these fuckers are...
Does it have to be a T-bone?
No. A pork chop might suffice, or a sausage.
How do you stab someone with a sausage?
With great effort.
I'm sorry, I just had to.
Of course.
But yeah, a wooden stake.
Exactly. Because if this being... God, I sound so like... This being is so powerful, you can barely kill it. No, but... yeah, but basically, if you like cut a limb, it still has this parasitic ability to just...
Regenerate? Or...
Yeah, basically regenerate. Because when... Well, they have this... sort of... I'm not going to say magical inner, because it's basically their biology to just regenerate. Imagine like a starfish, really.
Okay. Alright. Sure.
So, go for the brain. But the brain is not in the brain. The brain is in the...
In the heart.
Exactly. So it wouldn't
Fair
stay.
enough.
And in the olden days, if you didn't like have a gun...
So, does this mean that just piercing the heart with whatever is the most efficient means to killing the vampire?
Well, you need to go past the vampire on all its claws and fangs and all that, but yeah. you need to go past the meat grinder in the front.
But if I go through the back?
Longer stake, I suppose.
But it doesn't have to be a wooden stake. It could be an iron...
I mean, penetration, really. A sausage, if you will.
Again with this penetrating sausage.
Yes.
God, the images!
Oh, yes.
Okay, but sure, I buy that. But what about garlic? Your answer should be it's a great seasoning, but...
Yeah, it's a great seasoning with steak, but...
garlic butter.
So yeah, well, old wives' tale, I suppose.
What about silver?
I might work something with that.
It actually could be sort of that this parasite has an avid reaction to silver as an element or something.
I mean, it's very sensitive to UV light, so I would assume it's something in the periodic system reacts badly with it. I would just assume.
Because it would really be fun to have this whole thing with, you have a silver cross and you put it in the hand of the vampire so it's burning or something like that.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That would be nice.
You invite a vampire to dinner, you get your best silverware, and suddenly it starts burning in his hand.
Oops.
Actually, you do call them.
Yeah. Yeah, actually. Yeah. Okay, that is fun actually.
That is fun. Dinner party with a vampire.
I might just work with that actually. I might just work with silver. And it's the fun part with I have this kind of courts, really, because I was gonna say in the ranking system of this vampire, when a human and parasite becomes one, it becomes a sort of a hierarch, I call it, because it's the grand ruler.
So it's the first.
Yes. A prime arc. No, sorry.
Primarch.
Primarch. Exactly. And when it affects down in the next generation, it becomes a monarch. A
Primarch to monarch.
Or a royal, really.
Okay.
And those infects on, it becomes a noble, because every royal needs its subjects. Its noble subjects, really.
Uh-huh.
And when they sort of shoots down, kicks down, kicks downward, it becomes the sort of warrior, the warrior generation. Really.
I can really understand the whole thing of each vampire getting weaker, so to say, because I mean, if it is that the original parasite melds with a human, you got a really 50-50 part.
Yeah.
But then as you go further, there's going to be more and more human in that.
Half that vampire, half that vampire, half that vampire. It basically goes down.
Yeah, it just thins out.
Yeah, exactly. Until it comes to like down to the most basic normal vampire, which is more human than it is vampire. I'm not saying a daywalker here because it's still a vampire.
I'm just thinking that when you go low enough, that they're not really vampires anymore. They're more like ghouls, maybe, because there becomes some sort of.
I mean,
there's not enough power in the parasite DNA that it really pulls through the metamorphosis to its fullest potential. It's more like it becomes sort of.
Tainted, really.
Yeah.
I mean, let's ask the people of Alabama what happens if you inbred long enough.
I don't think we need to go to Alabama to.
Let's ask the people of northern Sweden. Oh boy!
Oh shit!
Oh shit!
So, that's the reason that we have bicycles.
Yeah.
The bicycle is actually what saved the northern part of Sweden from total inbreeding.
Hooray!
Yeah, because suddenly you didn't just have to look within your,
family.
Yeah, your immediate surroundings, being sister, cousin, brother, or whatever. Now you could actually go through the next town over within a easy margin of travel.
Ooh, exotic.
I know. But yeah,
basically,
it didn't end up in ghouls, at least.
Exactly, yet.
But I mean, my point being that when there is not enough parasite power left, there is still enough to taint and during the metamorphosis becomes sort of it breaks down the DNA, but there's not enough to build it up again.
Exactly.
So they turn into these sort of ghoulish,
ghoulish things.
So I mean, it stops at some point, and I think that's really good from a world building perspective, because otherwise they could just make more and more and more.
Yeah, and that will be just uncontrollable.
Yeah,
I mean, normals can still make normal vampires or ghouls.
Yeah,
basically that, or basically, yeah, it depends really, but basically. Yeah, it doesn't. The gene doesn't work anymore. It's just fucks it over. But you have this basically, and with ghouls, I might just add, they don't just drink blood anymore. They have just reverted into eating the whole thing, eating the whole body, everything.
Brainless, sort of.
Yeah.
Munching
machines.
Weird creatures. Horrible creatures.
Horrid.
But. I'm thinking about the Primarchs here.
The what now?
What?
The what now?
The Primarch.
We're not in 40k, mate.
no, but you have the Primarch and then the Monarch.
The Monarch, yeah.
Which the top dog.
Hierarch. Primarch is a made-up word from 40k. I looked that up actually.
Really?
Yeah. It is invented just for 40k.
Huh.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Well, I'll be
Yeah.
Effed. But yeah, the hierarch.
Yeah.
Okay. So the hierarch, can they actually summon more pure parasites? Do they have a connection to the home dimension world of the parasite?
Well, that's the fun part, because in this world, in this universe we're living in the superhero thing, it actually came through a good chunk of these parasites, but then the world sealed off.
Was it in conjunction with the fall of the tower?
Exactly.
Okay.
In that little fucking, so to speak.
It was the fucking name.
The fucking of the conjunctional spheres. So yeah, in the world, it has existed a lot of different hierarchs and courts throughout the world. But this one that exists now, it's the longest surviving.
Okay.
But basically, a Primarch, if he chooses, can create another Primarch. But why would he? It's competition.
But doesn't a hierarch, you said Primarch.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Ah, shit!
But doesn't a vampire created by a hierarch become a monarch?
Well, it's...
I mean, it's like... Because when you have the top dog create another one,
yeah,
they become...
I really need to check my notes on this one, because...
because it sounds like they can make equals, but that doesn't really work with your initial explanation of it, because that means...
I think I had the intention of the hierarch can create...
equals?
Yeah, because it's so far up in the gene pool, so to speak.
But because in the way I look at it, the only reason that you have hierarchs is because you have the 50-50 blend of the parasite and the human.
Yeah.
Anything created after that is going to be half
basically a monarch, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you can only get one step below.
Yeah, that is true, actually. I'm gonna have to think this one over, actually.
It's quite simple.
It's quite simple, really. But the base premise is you only create lesser of you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun, because I have this initial thought that these courts...
A thought?
Yes.
Thoughts!
Thoughts! Be gone, thoughts! A thought that these courts that exist today are sort of unintentional in their sense. An unintentional sort of answer to Dante's circles. Or the deadly sins. So you have like a court that is based on pride, a court based on greed, court based on lust, and all that. And they use these kind of techniques. Unintentionally, I might add. So basically you have...
a lot of basics here.
Basic.
Base.
So in this... for now, it is 9 different courts. Basically ruling all over the place, because see it as a clan, really, a court. They come together and sort of lives.
They congregate
Exactly in dark pits and all that.
Old castles and weird, creepy forests and beneath the sewers and
all that. Basically, dark, cool, moist places. Well, not perhaps moist places.
They could be dry, I guess.
Yes, they could. So yeah, I.
But so there are no there's no court that has sort of taken over a modern part of the world.
Well, we have these in the modern sense. We have the greed court or the wealth, because they have this little drift of making more of these delicious gold and wealth, and a company, I can infiltrate that.
So I mean, do they still live in the dark sort of weird places, or do we see vampires that have these high-rise building, the penthouse living, sort of upper class
Well, for the most, they are kind of traditional,
living underground.
underground castles, ruins. I mean, some places they even are huge courts that lives close to each other, a safe haven, really. But basically, they try to survive by living as traditional as possible because, well,
It works.
it works.
It just works.
Just works because this hierarch and these courts are basically the longest living
Creatures
surviving hierarchs and courts in history, and he survived by playing it cool, staying hidden, and survived through that.
Okay. So let's say that they've taken control of a major company and they build a skyscraper.
Yep.
But instead of living on the penthouse sort of thing, high-rise luxury stuff, they build a basement level and just have their court down there in real security and stuff.
Yeah, I suppose they could.
I actually like that a bit better than having the sort of classical vampire, oh, I'm so wealthy. Yeah, living in the penthouse, being all high and mighty, but instead these fuckers actually live underground.
They must live underground to survive, yeah.
They must live underground to survive.
I mean, the sunlight's still...
Yeah, but I mean, you could make a sunproof penthouse.
I suppose they could. But that
You could do that.
But that would look mighty suspicious, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, it would. Maybe. It depends. But I do like the idea better that instead of living in a luxurious skyrise, they actually live in a luxurious basement.
Yeah, that would...
It's like they have 10 basement levels.
Stretching underground.
Yeah, really. Exactly. Yeah,
it's like an upside down skyscraper.
Yeah, these massive complexes underground that just is this hive for the vampires.
Yeah, I would actually see that, and because this is a work in progress stage, we might actually implement that.
Well, that is cool. I like that.
Yeah, I suppose.
So we went a lot from superheroes into vampires. It's.
I mean, I am kind of proud over my inspiration of these fuckers, so...
And your inspiration is what?
Basically what I've seen around, but...
You made your own spin of the vampire myth?
Exactly, and that is what I'm a little bit proud of.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah. But, in contrast to the vampires, there are also this modern kind of superhero world, if we're gonna change the focus a little bit on that. I mean, you have the mystic magic part, and then you have this people in I'm not gonna say in hiding, but imagine like a 10% of population is freaks and sort of lives hidden because, well,
prejudice?
Sometimes, yeah. Prejudice, shame, basically. But imagine you have a population of 10% being this.
That's quite a lot of them, actually.
I did actually... I can't remember if it is 10%, but I did do a little bit of a comparison to the trans community. Hear me out.
You really want to go there?
Hear me out before.
Because that is people with true dysphoria. That's like 0.5% or something of the total population.
I can't remember really what I put there, but I thought it fitted really good because it was a bit of people, but it wasn't a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it would really reflect good on a little bit of population being freaks, so to speak. Because, well, you don't see them a lot. You don't see them all the time, and that makes them kind of special when they do show up.
Unless they've been on Tumblr, I guess.
Well, there are communities, I suppose.
I see where you're going with this, and I think it's actually a good idea just to have sort of a saying realistic here is kind of
I am thinking a little more of that. Imagine if you're just going around in town and just seeing well, that guy have powers, that guy has powers, that guy has powers. Meh.
Yeah. I see where you're going with
I
it.
think more less is more in this case, because I really want to, because it is well integrated in the world of enhanced people, but it's still very special when they do show up.
Yeah, I buy it.
Because in at least in my life, I do walk around. I am gonna go with this hot topic that is trans people.
Hot topic.
Hot topic. I don't see a lot of trans people, but I do know they exist out there.
Mm-hmm.
That does sound worse than it actually is. I know they're out there, people. No, but really, just because they are not part of my life, I don't know they're out there and exist in our world. Take it as you like, people. I don't care anymore.
Sorry, it's just so goddamn funny to think about it.
I know. I try to find a better euphemism, but
yeah. Well, I see where you're going with it. I mean, just looking at it with statistics, it makes sense.
Yeah. So. Exactly.
Okay.
I think that's enough stirring up the anthill.
Yeah, I think so. And we've been going on for quite a while, so
fuck nugget. Yeah, we have.
But I do enjoy discussing this because
it really shows on both of us, because we really.
I mean, it's fun. I really love world building.
Me too.
So I mean, I can keep discussing and just shitposting about this.
I think we're gonna have to take notes and just see what we have been talking about, and maybe talk about this more in the future.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. So.
But I do like the idea of people asking questions about this.
Yeah, but it's really great to have people actually asking questions or coming with their thoughts about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm all for more input. I'm all for getting more responses around this and see what works and doesn't work and how people feel and think about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you that listens to this have any ideas or questions, comments, or whatever, I would love to hear them.
Yeah, me too. I'm dying for feedback.
Exactly. And I mean, if you come with a good idea, it might be implemented.
Maybe it will.
So, yeah, I mean, really, do give us some feedback on this. It will be great.
Feedback, damn you.
Don't be shy. We're friendly.
Oh no. No, not friends. Not friends. Commissar, no!
Yeah, friendship is heresy. But with that said, please do get in touch with us and tell us, what do you think about our ideas and our projects?
And feedback and all that.
Yeah, feedback and all that. And you can always get in touch with us either through Twitter.
Yeah.
The main handle for the podcast is @DRH Podcast.
Yeah.
Usually I'm the one... I am the one posting with that handle.
That is the main handle. And I have the DRH Magnus, which is my half of the Twitter frontier, so to speak. But @DRH is basically the main.
Yeah. We didn't mention this in the beginning of the episode, which should be, my name is Roland, or Roland, for you English speakers. And my friend over there, over there, Magnus.
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean...
For you new people, I
suppose.
suppose.
New people. Yeah, I guess we just jumped the introduction because...
I assume people know who we are.
We're superstars. No, we're not. We're unknowns.
Nobody's really.
We're two weird people sitting in a couch talking about our role-playing games.
Yes. And for those of you who have been listening before, we have upgraded from the basement to our
Actually,
couch.
it's more like we don't have place in the basement anymore because we've been run out by bunnies.
Yeah, the bunny brigade.
Goddamn bunnies. So now we're upstairs in the couch instead, which is kind of nice. It's comfy.
It is comfy, actually.
Mm.
It is closer to sunlight. It is dark outside now, but yeah.
Well, not really dark. I mean, we're
Nah.
up in the north. It doesn't really get dark during the summer.
Nah. I need sleep.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah, I know. That is fucky when you're up over the polar.
Well, we're
Polar
not
circle.
above the polar circle.
We're not
here.
above the polar circle, but it's fun when you're up there. Above
Yeah,
the polar
well,
circle.
if you go above, it's like, when does the sun set?
I mean, the sun is like teasing you. It goes up. It just starts to go down. But no.
Psych!
And goes
It
up
goes
again.
up again. Yeah.
Yeah. And we trail off again. Fuck.
Just started rambling.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our Twitter.
Yeah, that's the Twitter handle.
You can send us an email.
Yeah.
Actually.
dead.red.herring@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And
You do find our podcast on the most regular spaces, really. But
yeah, wherever you can find podcasts, you should be able to find our podcast.
yeah. So
So I guess that depends on where you're listening. I guess you couldn't find more, unless you're on YouTube, which we upload to semi-regularly.
when I get the sound files,
Yeah, that's my fault. I'm sorry.
But do hang on YouTube because we do upload a fair bit of Let's Plays. We are aiming to upload a bit more of.
Yep.
Let's Plays, and we do stream through Twitch now,
Yeah.
but we're gonna put that on YouTube later.
Yeah. That's the plan, at least.
Exactly. So do hang around on YouTube. Don't
Yeah.
give up on us yet there.
Well, whatever your preferred platform, hopefully you'll find more of us there.
Exactly.
And with that, I guess we should just say thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it, even though we've been sort of rambling on.
Insane ramblings. That's our motto, I suppose.
Yes, we do. Insane ramblings, beating dead horses, and stuff.
How's dead red herring?
Yeah. And with that, thank you for listening. Have a great time. Bye-bye.
Ta-ta.
Let me fuck my microphone.
Don't fuck your microphone.
I wanna fuck my microphone. I'm gonna shove it up my